All right, everyone, welcome to the Tech Sales Funnels Podcast. I'm your host, Dayvisson here, and today is going to be an amazing interview. I'm super excited. I saw Kayla for the first time on LinkedIn. She's crushing it. She's posting all sorts of tips and strategies and helping people how to transition to tech sales. She made her not entire career, but anyways, you're gonna hear more about it. I don't wanna tell too much. She currently works at Microsoft, has her own coaching helping others transition to tech sales. So I was like, I need to bring you to this podcast, and you probably have some an amazing, uh, you know, tips and ideas. And I hope it will. I don't hope. I know it will inspire people who are listening here today. So I'm gonna bring to stage right now. Hello, Kayla. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's Friday. I thank
I
you so
know.
much for connecting. It's the end of the week. You probably had a busy week.
Yes,
Uh,
I did. No, really
yes.
excited for the weekend.
Yeah. So thank you so much for making the time. I was just telling everyone that super excited to have you here. You have an amazing career in tech sales. You're doing amazing work helping other people transition to tech sales, which you going to be able to talk more about it. And the biggest goal of this podcast here is to inspire and help people, other people, how to transition to tech sales, right? So we want to dive deep into maybe how you did and things like that. So let's just go ahead and have you introduce yourself first and tell us what you do now, and then we're just gonna shift right after to the question, okay?
Awesome. Yeah. So, hey everyone, I'm Kayla B or Kayla Burke. So I am currently an enterprise sales specialist at Microsoft, and I have been in this industry now for about 8 years. I kicked off my career at IBM and went through the summit program. I spent about almost 4 years, like 3.5 years at IBM. Then I pivoted to a startup called OneTrust and sold data protection and data governance. And now I've been at Microsoft just about 2 years. And I am currently selling to healthcare and life science organizations around our modern work solution. So really, really excited to like dive into like the whole story and, the journey that I've been on as I've been in this industry and how I've been able to help like, a lot of people transition into this space.
Yeah, so that's exactly why we need you here. And Kayla, I know it's gonna inspire and help a lot of people, whoever is gonna be listening to this today. So
Yes.
let's just dive right in. Thanks so much for introduction. How did you hack into tech sales? How that happened?
I know. So I actually went to college. So I went to the Florida State University. And after that, I graduated with the information communication technology degree. And I actually took a job as a business analyst working for Tyson Foods. I did not like being a business analyst as much as I thought that was going to be, what I went to school for and just studied for. And I connected, I actually used my network to connect with
Okay.
someone. And I was like, I really want to move to Atlanta in technology. And I had a conversation with a friend. She connected me with somebody who was at IBM. And after having a conversation with me, they said, based on your personality and how outgoing you are, how well spoken you are, have you considered technology sales? And
Mm,
ideally, I never knew, even getting a college degree, that this was a field that was available
an
to me.
option. Yeah.
I always thought, you could be a software engineer, or you had to be an analyst, or maybe like data scientists, like very technical roles. And I quickly learned about the opportunities available through sales. So I applied to IBM, and it was a very, very long, and selective process to get into the summit program. But from
Mm,
there, I was placed in that program, and for 6 months, I was trained to be an enterprise, tech sales seller. So we did things like learning negotiations, learning all the different techniques and sales methodologies, emotional intelligence training, like just really immersed me into becoming a great seller and understanding, the market and landscape. So that's kind of my journey on how I entered into tech sales. I feel like it was literally divine because I didn't know about
yeah.
it. I connected with someone, and like literally that just decision has changed my life financially so significantly from entering into this field. So yeah.
Wow. Now you're just talking like, yeah, IBM, 6 months of training. That's an amazing program, right?
Oh,
It's
it's
one of the best in
amazing.
the nations, and it's super hard to get into it. And that was like a huge opportunity, right, to get started in tech sales at IBM. And your friend, you mentioned about your friends. I want to dive a little bit deep into that because a lot of times we don't know what we don't know, right? So growing up, I mean, going to college, like this whole industry of tech sales is like 20 years old, and I had no idea this industry existed until I landed a job at IBM too. And uh, tell a little bit more about your friend. Like, what exactly she saw in you? You brush. I want to dive into your soft skills and things that she saw,
Yes.
because a lot of times people they're like, can I really do this, Davidson? Like, and you just need a friend, right? Someone sometimes you just say, hey, totally doable. Can you
Yeah.
tell more about your friend?
Yeah, so my friend at the time connected me with somebody at IBM, and um, the guy that I ended up getting connected with, he had been in tech sales himself. So he was
Mm,
a sales engineer, and he had been doing that for about maybe 5 to 7 years, like around then at that point. So I feel like because he was in that industry, he was definitely able to identify some of the characteristics that make you a great seller. And I think, he was like, being a people's person, solving problems,
mm,
being able to present and pitch things to customers. And once he started telling me that, I'm like, I do all those things. I already had like had a YouTube channel. I was always like putting
nice.
myself out there, connecting with people, very big on building relationships and networks and all of those things like socially already. And I felt like, oh, I would love to do this. I'd love to like pitch customers and go into meetings and do demonstrations and all of the things that they described the job to be. So I think he just saw like my personality, that was like very
Mm,
personable and had a, tech background, obviously graduating with a tech degree. And I think he was like, I think you need to really
nice.
consider this field. So I think not for me, like I said, it was just kind of like the universe, God just really aligning that in my life at that time because I had no idea going to college. And I
Amazing.
think another point that you mentioned is like you could go to college and you never find out about this. Like they don't really push
Mm,
sales in college. Like so it's interesting
true.
because you can go get a computer science degree, you can do engineering, and now
Exactly.
with social
Right?
media and LinkedIn and like
It's such a,
putting it out, like me getting on social media, like, yo, this is a whole industry that's overlooked. I think there's so much visibility now, but 10 years ago, when I was getting into this industry, like 8 years ago, 10, 15 years, it was like the best kept secret, So it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
so
totally.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
funny. Even these days, people are like, they think about tech sales, they think about layoffs. Sometimes I'm like, are you serious? Like there's, it's high risk, high return, right? Like they're like, whoa, tech sales layoffs. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like all those things you can do in tech sales. There's even roles that you don't even have to be talking to clients. Like it's
Right.
just super technical, right? There's this whole world that people don't really know about it, and they can make an entire career out of it, and they can work in multiple organizations. It's just crazy. And why universities are not teaching that, I have no idea. A few schools are like starting to do like some. They have sales degrees, but they don't even have like any specialization in tech sales. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. No, no, no.
Mystery of life.
Yeah.
That's cool. No, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. A lot of people. So for the people who don't know anything about it, which was kind of your case, my case, how do they find out more about it? Like what, like tech sales? Do they just Google? Do they just, is that a place where they can go and be like, hey, wow, have the aha moment, or like a podcast? I'm creating this to help people, but where would you recommend to someone like maybe fresh out of college, or maybe someone who just got laid off, like from their like HR career, like like a recruiter can be an amazing seller, right?
Right.
So where do you start? Can you give like
Yeah,
some?
I think that just doing like general research, I feel like I said, I think there's a lot of information online. Like people like myself, you, I think there are a lot of people who have not been gatekeeping anymore and really putting the information out online. So I think YouTube, you know what I mean, LinkedIn, typing in tech sales is a really great place to start. I also think just simply reaching out to people on LinkedIn who are already in the industry to like truly get insight from those people. I think there's a lot of misinformation online as well, like making it seem like this is just such an easy job, you can just get it and overnight, which I don't think is true. I think that it definitely takes work and you know what I mean? Like you need a certain level of knowledge of the industry that you're entering. So I think either trying to like find a mentor, but there are programs like I run a company called the Tech Level where we definitely help
Mhm.
skill and educate individuals, get them transferred in from different industries. We've been able to place over 200 people this year alone.
Mhm.
So it's just really getting out there and finding either a boot camp, a mentorship, a program that is designed to help you because, like we said, colleges don't teach it. You know, I heard IBM just got rid of the summit program. Like, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
becoming more and more difficult to actually find a program that is designed to help you gain the skills that, you know, I was lucky to get, or you were lucky to get going to these companies. But there are people now starting companies like training individuals just like me to break into this industry. So I think those are really great places to start, you know?
I love it. No, that was it. If you're listening to this right now, you should be taking notes. Like she just dropped tons and tons of like really really good nuggets so you can get started. Right? There's no excuses. Like I mean, get over the. I was having a conversation the other day on also on the podcast, and everyone is in sales. If you think about it, and then people need to get over this mentality of like, oh, I don't want to do sales because the whole car sales mentality.
Yeah.
And these days, and especially now, these days now, the whole chain. I have been selling for many years, but now everything's kind of shifting digital, like digital selling. The buyers are all online. They're all on Instagram. They're all on TikTok. How can you sell to those people like now? We're like this new generation. How can we convince this new generation to be like, you're not gonna be a car salesman. You're gonna be making tons of money by doing what you already do on digital, social media, and then connect with your clients and help them find solutions. Any recommendations to the new generation? Because I feel like the old sellers are retiring, right? They're like getting out of the old account executives. They made their money. They're cashing out their stocks and retiring. And what's happening now? What's the new generation?
Yeah, I think there's just a huge like landscape shift in tech sales in general. Like you said, like after COVID, especially, I've seen like how
Mm,
much more customer meetings are digital. And I think we're in a social selling era now, a digital selling era, which is in my opinion, I think there's way more capacity because you don't have to fly out to one customer. You can have a ton of meetings within a week. You can scale
mm,
more. But I also think there's also a surge in so many technology startups coming out of Silicon Valley now. Like before, I felt like there were like only so many companies you could work at. And now the whole market is just booming from the companies that are coming out, the amount of jobs that are available. So it's a really big growing market, but I think naturally, like our generation, we're already so immersed in socials already. So to be able to like now utilize those channels to be a seller, I think is just so empowering, to be honest. Yeah.
yeah, and no, totally. And one of the things that you do really well, it's you build your brand, right? Your personal branding. I like to call personal journey because sometimes people are like, "Oh, am I a brand?" No, it's your life, it's your story, right?
Yeah.
And you do well. You have your like different social medias, and I bet when you jump on a call, some clients or even partners, they're like, "Oh, I know you. I feel like I know you because I've seen your post or it's so important." But at the end of the day, people are still hesitating, right? And to share their story, their personal journey. And here, now we're kind of diving deep into strategy. How you can transition to tech sales. I tell people all the time, like, hey, start just sharing your brand, right? Like who you are, because the people who's gonna company they're gonna hire you. There's so many companies they're looking for a fit. They're gonna teach you the technology. Don't worry about it. It's just a fit. It's a matter of finding a fit. If they
Right.
don't know you, they don't like you, they won't trust you. So, can you tell me more about how you like decide to develop your personal brand, and then like because it might be inspiration for a lot of people here listening.
Yeah, I think I've just always valued, like I said, even before coming into tech sales, I was very big on social media and building a brand. So I've always looked at building a brand as like, a stream of revenue, like, right? Whatever you attach
Mm-hmm.
yourself to, whether that's being able to go to speaking engagements, being able to like maybe write a book later or whatever, like you're building an audience that is attached to who you are and your
Mm-hmm.
story, like you mentioned. So I think even just outside of tech sales, it's just really important to have that brand. But as it relates to tech sales, I think it's a really good space to show employers, like you were saying, who you really are. I think if you're a salesperson, you're always telling a story. Like that's the whole point of sales is storytelling, in my opinion. How do you provide value? How do you help people bring them from where they are to where they're looking to go? It's the art of storytelling. So I feel like if you master that as an individual, it definitely will roll over into how you sell products, how you pitch things to people, and I think it's super important to have, especially as anyone who's just looking to like enter the industry, but more specifically also just like be in sales. So yeah.
Yeah, like that. So for the people who are hesitating transitioning to tech sales because of the misconception of selling, what is good about tech sales that you really really enjoy, and
I
what you don't like,
Yeah.
please?
I think everything has its pros and cons. You know what I mean? I think that what I truly enjoy is working remote. I enjoy the money. I enjoy the benefits. I enjoy the experiences that I've been able to have, like going to meet different companies, going on site, flying out to different companies, and just being able to have that type of exposure. But I also think that, it's not for everybody. I think you have to assess your personality and know that
Mm-hmm.
I'm driven, I'm a self starter. I don't need people to tell me every single day what to do. I think you definitely have to assess like who you are as a person and if it's a right fit for you. But I feel like if those are your qualities and characteristics, you know, pull the trigger. Like
Mm-hmm.
you'll never know if you like something until you try it, is something that I firmly believe. And I think that, people who are nervous, you're nervous because you probably just don't have somebody to encourage you. Maybe you don't have the right information. So I think it's about creating a strategy, creating a plan, and saying, hey, I want to be in tech sales. I need to create maybe a 90-day strategy, learn the skills, learn the sales methodologies, learn some concepts on technology, learn how to properly interview. And as we mentioned, like my program or other programs out on the market, you have the resources available to help you make this transition. Even you coach people, find a coach who can help take you through that journey. And I think that it will land in success for sure when you take that approach.
Love that. And you mentioned about your coaching, like, and you placed a lot of people, which is amazing. Where do they usually are coming from? Like for the people who are listening here, like, hey, I want to follow Kayla and even sign up to your program, like, so they can kind of pre-qualify themselves and see, oh, might be a good fit for me.
No,
Where are they coming from? The young, older, like, what is it?
everybody. We help so many people of different backgrounds, and I love to like help minorities break into the space because I feel like they're so
Love it.
underrepresented. But I like to help everybody, and I think people who are interested in sales, maybe you just graduated high school, maybe you're in college.
Mm.
Those are a major, sector of people that I've helped. I've helped a lot of people transition from real estate, car sales, like anybody who's
Ooh.
had sales experience already, looking to make a transition and learning this industry. I've been getting some recent interest. A lot of nurses are looking to leave like um,
Oh,
a job where they like have to be in person, and a lot of people who are looking for remote work are also making the transition. So it really just varies. Like we've helped people. Really, my whole program was designed if you don't have a degree or you don't have prior experience. So it doesn't
mm,
matter where you're at. We are able to help take you from 0 to 100 and help you get the job. So I really pride myself on just being able to teach people all of the fundamentals, all of the basics, just like I was taught, and then
mm-hmm.
helping them to be able to exceed and excel in the roles that they get placed in.
Wow, so that's amazing. So hey, the net's there. It's catching. Whoever's listening here. I have seen some of Kayla's posts. They're really good. She does video. Just check it out because I mean, there's no excuse, right? She mentioned all sorts of professions and high schoolers and colleges. Is that? Do you think now? You mentioned like nursing. Do you think is there like a profession out there that, and if they're listening to this, they're just like missing the boat. That they should be totally jumping on it. Like, hey, if you're doing this, you should totally do tech sales. Is that anything like that? What do
Um,
you think?
I just think if you're into sales, like I think it's just another industry. I don't think there's any particular industry. Like I said, I think it's more of a characteristic thing with the
Yeah.
individual. Like, do you enjoy customers? Do you enjoy problem solving? Do you enjoy strategy, planning, executing? If those are your strengths, I feel like this is a great industry for you. Um, regardless of what
Oh, industry.
industry you're in. So I don't really think, for me, what I've seen is that one specific industry does better. I definitely think it's more of the individual and what they put in, and the type of person they are, and what they're willing to go after. So yeah.
Cool. No, love it. I like it. I was looking at your LinkedIn earlier today here. So now, wow, this is amazing, guys. Like, if you want to listen from the beginning, it's a master class here of how to lead to tech sales, how to hack. I like to use the word hack because I feel like it takes a a few tweaks here and there and tricky, but you can do it. So I see here IBM, and then I see OneTrust, and then Microsoft. Now let's walk. I'll take you back here in time. How did you hack from IBM to OneTrust, and then how did you hack from OneTrust to Microsoft? That like you went from like a Fortune 100 to some mid. I don't know how big is OneTrust, but maybe a smaller organization. And maybe you can tell us a little bit how was that experience, and then how did you hack into Microsoft? You made the leap to now probably like the number one technology company in the world. So
Yeah.
I think people would love to hear that.
Yeah. I mean, from leaving IBM was because I was desiring to really accelerate my career faster. I feel like the bigger organizations, it can take a long time to like climb the ladder. So it was
Yeah.
more of a strategic move for me. Like I knew I
Yes.
wanted to work on very big accounts, and I felt like I didn't care to wait like 3, 5 years just to earn that right. So
Mm.
um, I decided to leave, and then I went to OneTrust, and I think that was an amazing decision for me personally.
How
Um,
did you get the job there?
I just applied. Like I just went on
Okay,
LinkedIn.
just applied online.
Yeah. So I just went out my way to apply, to started applying to account executive positions, and yeah, I had a really, really great run at OneTrust. I was a top performer, like consistently on my
Yes.
team, got promoted onto even bigger accounts like enterprise and strategic. And I knew I needed to get that experience to then
Mm.
re-enter. So my goal was
Oh,
like, I'm going to take this move. I'm going to go to a startup for 2 to 3 years, and then I'll go back. And
nice,
ironically, right at 2 years, Microsoft actually reached out to me, a recruiter, and
nice.
was like, "We're building a new sales org, and we would love for you to interview." So um, it all worked out. You know what I mean? Like my story getting into Microsoft is a bit different. I feel like a lot of people typically don't have someone just reach out to them like, "Hey, we're building a new
Hmm.
team. We'd love for you to interview." So I think in my situation, having that personal brand, like we just talked about online,
Yes,
as
I
well
was
as
gonna say that. Yeah.
yeah, I think my personal brand on LinkedIn that I had was really important. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. 100%. So it wasn't luck, everyone. She does the work, and and it was a strategic move to OneTrust, and then she just looked online with with IBM's background and training and resume. Just of course will open the doors to the next move, right?
Hmm.
And then to hack into Microsoft, basically she got the code to
Right.
give it to it was invited like, hey, come interview, right? So it doesn't happen very often. It does happen. I have been reached out by Microsoft recruiters as well, so it does happen. Once you, of course, build that reputation
Right.
and a social brand. If she wasn't on LinkedIn, right? How in the world the recruiter was gonna find her, right?
Yeah.
And she wasn't posting regularly and building her brand. So you literally become a magnet of opportunities if you are active on LinkedIn. I can show you, Kayla can show you. There's people reaching out to her left and right because of her uh, presence on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That was amazing. So can you tell a little bit more the when you went to Microsoft, the interview process, like the recruiter invited you, and then how was that? It was like one round, and then you're like done, and how? Can you tell a little bit more of that process?
Yeah. So the interview had reached out to me, the recruiter, and then they just set up an interview, and I had 3 rounds of interviews in one day, and that was my
Mhm.
process. So yeah,
That's
I think things
great.
have changed a bit. I think they have a
Yeah,
loop now, from what I'm hearing, but yeah, it was a pretty simple process for me. But like I said, I do think that was just due to the fact that they needed to hire people really quickly. They had to start the organization at
mhm.
a certain date. So I just think I had things kind of like working in my favor. Obviously, my experience worked in my favor as well in my interviewing skills. But yeah, it was not a bad process. It was actually a really, really great process for me. I'll say that.
I love it. And as everyone can see, Kayla has a very strong mindset, right? She's very confident of herself, her skills, her abilities. And I tell people a lot of times it's a mindset game most of the time. And if people come to me and say, like, Davidson, can I really do this? And I was like, yes, but you have to work on your mindset first because if you're already questioning yourself, I know, there's, tips and tricks and paths and different ways to do it, but you should be confident. Like, hey, I got those skills. I'm pretty sure I can do this. And that's a different story, right? And then as coaches, we can guide you and show you the path. Well, we're coming to an end here. This has been an amazing conversation, Kayla. Thank you so much. If anybody wants to get the transcript of this podcast, you're probably gonna have a master class of how to land into tech sales. Um, Now let's close this really well here. So, how first? How can before we forget? How can people find you so they can learn more about you?
Yeah. So on LinkedIn, my website is called thetechlevel.com. I'm on Instagram, the Kayla B. So, just on socials, my name is pretty much just my full name is pretty much everywhere. So all you got to do is
Nice.
search on YouTube or anywhere like that. But yeah, no, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for having me on. To anybody who's really looking to break into the industry, I feel as though it's a great time. The opportunities are endless. And, just put yourself in position to really find the right program, find the right mentor, and get the training that's necessary to make the transition. And, I'm always wishing people the best of luck as they transition into this space.
Thank you. Like for the people who are like on the fence, and still after listening to this, like, how do you summarize in one word what they need to have to move on?
Just have faith. Like, have faith that
Yeah.
things will work out, and just, believe in yourself. And everything always has a way, just how I showed you guys, of aligning the way it's supposed to. So, yeah.
Awesome. Now, we're two more minutes here. I want to take as much as I can for you. uh, LinkedIn. One word, like something that they have to have on LinkedIn. If they don't have it, they're just missing the boat.
Um,
I mean,
When it comes to
that's
LinkedIn,
something.
I just think having great stories and engaging posts, like just make sure you're staying up to date on your LinkedIn. But I think a great headshot as well probably is really good. Like, don't just be like missing or like a ghost on LinkedIn. Like, and I think showing that, um, is really important. But yeah, I mean, just build your social brand on LinkedIn. It's a great space, and like I've mentioned, like the opportunities that come from it are really amazing, and the connections that you can make. But I think just having like a great cadence around constantly like updating and just having a great picture would be something that I would say.
Sweet. And one word for resume. Let's say if they don't have a resume, that's a tech sales resume. Where do they start? Like,
Yeah, I just always recommend getting a resume professionally done. I think that, you can't be the best at everything. So I think like really investing in the most important document that gets you through the door for a job is just what I would always say. Like invest in yourself and get your resume professionally written. I've always done it and I've seen the benefits of it. So yeah.
perfect, perfect. Well, let's close here today. Thanks so much, everyone, for
Thank
being here. We're gonna keep bringing amazing guests like Kayla. Thanks so much for making the time. I know we tried a couple of times and we're finally here today. It's Friday after, almost afternoon.
Awesome.
Everyone, follow Kayla and be here for more. And thanks so much for coming in. Thank you. Have a good one.
Awesome. Thank you.